Peace and blessings, you amazing sports fans. It's Coach Ed, and this is Coach Ed's Amazing World of Sports. And I'm back, ready to bring you some exciting coverage of the different events within the amazing world of sports. Tonight's episode is going to be talking about the realignment in college sports, especially with the most recent events of UCLA and USC moving from the Pac-12 and joining the Big Ten for the 2024 season. Now, college sports is ever changing. Um, there's so much going on. Last year, we had Texas and Oklahoma moving from the Big 12 over to the SEC. And now this year, we have again USC and UCLA, traditional Pac 10, Pac 12 participants for over 90 years. They're moving over to the Big 10. Now, this is a fluid situation, and right now you have everyone scrambling or playing a wait and see type of approach to what's going on, who's going to be the next to make a move, make a change, what conference, so on and so forth. It's a really, really crazy time. It's definitely not the type of college sports that I grew up on. You know, um, right now everyone is waiting on Notre Dame to see what they're going to do. Now, while Notre Dame is in the ACC for all sports, fully for all sports except for football. Football just plays a partial schedule. They're considered independent, so they play teams from the Big Ten, from the Pac-12, from the SEC, wherever. Um, this is something that they've wanted to do, partially, mostly because they have their own TV contract. So the money they get from that, they are not sharing with anyone else but their own university. So, in my understanding, it runs through 2025, and it's about $15 million per year. And that was signed back in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, and it ran for 10 years from 2015 to 2025. So right now, with everything that's going on, the Big Ten, number one, after securing USC and UCLA, they recently told teams that were interested, notably the University of Washington and Oregon University of the Pac-12, they're, going to wait and see what Notre Dame does before they decide on adding any more teams. Now, with the ACC, the teams in the ACC, there is a grant of rights um, contract with their TV contract that they have. And basically what that means is if any team, any university that leaves the conference and goes to another conference, any TV money that they get from that conference actually goes over to the ACC. Now, of course, we all know, with good lawyers, you can negotiate things, you can work things out to the point where you can be released and move on. Now Notre Dame, their biggest thing is they want to wait and see how things go. Right now they kind of like what they have. Um, but, with the college football playoff system, that's a big thing. If it changes to the point where the ACC is not inclusive or the ACC implodes and they start losing other teams, then Notre Dame is going to, reevaluate and decide what is best for them. Now, being that they're in the middle, in the heart of the Big Ten country, most people feel that that is the best place for for Notre Dame, and ideally it works out. Being that they're right there in the middle of it of the conference. They, for the most part, they play the same type of a brand. That physical, hard nosed, tough minded type of football. Or in today's day and age, that today's tough minded brand of football. They are used to the cold weather environment, being that they're in Indiana. Um, Also, in terms of which most people dare I say, poo-poo it, but they kind of brush it aside. Um, the academics, Notre Dame is closely aligned with a lot of the academics that the Big Ten schools preach about. Yes, we all know that college sports is a business, and it's always about the bottom line first, and probably that's probably about it. It's not really about the student athletes completely. They will paint it that way, but the reality is it's not really about the student athletes first. It's about how much money the university can make. But that also goes across the board. I mean, if you look, don't even consider sports, the athletic programs, that's, everything that the universities do, trying to generate as much money, through admissions, how many students, the right type of students that are admitted to their university, what type of monies they can get, sponsors, everything, for the university. It's about the money, so sports is no different in that regard. Now, getting back to the ACC's grant of rights in Notre Dame. Now, you can see a situation where teams in the ACC decide that they want to move on from the conference and move to other conferences, notably the Big Ten, of course, and the SEC. Those are the two power brokers in college sports right now today. And, as they go, and as the college football playoff system goes, that's going to dictate a lot. And ideally, if the Big Ten and the SEC decide that they want to move away from the current system, and then being that they have the TV money behind them, that's going to affect everything. Now, in terms of the ACC's grant of rights, one of the things that I found very interesting is the opportunity or the possibility for loopholes within the TV agreement. I was watching Tony Siracusa of Last Word on College Football on YouTube, and he basically was speaking to the loopholes that are available in the ACC's agreement, and a lot of it is some of it is based on performance, some of it is based on what is known as competitive revenue clauses. And that's basically on a per school basis. So, for example, if Clemson is, say, making $50 million off of the TV money from the ACC, but any teams in the SEC or the Big Ten, and from top to bottom, if they're making 80 to $100 million, that can also be an opportunity for them to look into getting out of the contract and moving on, because it's limiting their opportunity to capitalize and not get a fair share. And they're also going to look at, hey, if a Vanderbilt, or a Purdue is, making double what they're making, they're going to want to get out of that so they can go ahead and take advantage of the opportunity. So that's something that, I definitely think is, something to look at. Now in terms of Washington, Oregon, or any other schools looking to get in and they're on the wait list, I know it's been said that, that's kind of like, I saw one commentator basically say, hey, that's like, you ask a girl to the prom and she tells you, hold on, let me see what the other guy is going to do. And if he says no, then I'll go with you. And you kind of being put on second fiddle. Well, let's be real. The colleges do that also to the recruits. If you go through recruiting, a lot of recruits, they're put on a hold because these universities are going after the 5 and 4 stars, and the kid may be a 3-star. So some schools put these kids on hold. So for to be thought of as you're being second fiddle, it's part of the business. So if you really want to capitalize and take advantage of that, you're going to wait. If the opportunity to make 80, 100, or even over $100 million is there, and you want to align yourself with whatever conference you're in, and even if it partners up with another conference, if the money doesn't add up, you're going to sit there and you're going to wait, because that opportunity is there. Then you add in the competition. Then you also add in the opportunity to possibly compete at a national level for the national championship. So to arbitrarily say that, oh, just because you're going to put me on hold, then I should, get my, in a sense, panties in a bunch and just move on. If it's not smart economically, because as I said earlier, it's about the bottom line. It's about that almighty dollar. And if you can make more money waiting, then you're going to do that. Now, I'm not saying don't, these schools shouldn't, check all their options, make sure that they cover all their bases, but of course, if the Big Ten came to Oregon and said, hey, we want to bring you in, you guys better believe Oregon is going to leave the Pac-12. They're going to leave them no matter what, unless you're telling them that, the money that they're going to make is going to be equivalent to what they're going to be getting in the Big Ten. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal for Oregon, or any other schools. Now, I do believe, my understanding is the way the teams that the universities that they're looking for, of course, is Notre Dame number one, Oregon, Stanford number two, Oregon, and I don't believe Washington is one of the top four that they are looking at. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I misplaced the article that I saw that on, but it's going to be very interesting, with these universities, them waiting and or continuing to, have discussions with, their current conference to see how things map out. So, I'm just very intrigued by this as far as what's going on. Now, to me, for the Big Ten and even the SEC, they need to be a little bit more proactive. Yes, do your due diligence, but definitely make sure you cover all your bases and be aggressive with it. The Big Ten right now is the one true conference that touches from the Atlantic to the Pacific Oceans. So they're a true national conference. Now that's not, some will look down upon that because that's a lot of travel for the student athletes, and it is. Kids in Piscataway flying across country to go to play a game in LA or vice versa. That's a lot. That can be a lot. Especially with classes, things of that nature. Yes, we are in a day and age where you can go online and you can do your work. The pandemic has shown us that. But still, it's still, they're there still to try and get a college education, and you don't want to put too much stress on them. So whatever resources they can provide for them, even if it's bringing tutors along, these schools need to do that to make sure that these kids are covered. Yes, they're going to miss their friends, maybe even a little partying. We know college is a great time to go out and party, especially when you're 18, 19, in your early 20s. But if you're looking at the big picture and you're working towards a goal, sometimes you have to balance it out. I don't want to say sacrifice, but you want to make sure you have a good balance. So that's another reason why I think with the Big Ten, working to make sure you limit excessive traveling for these kids from the West Coast to the East Coast or vice versa. At least on the East side, East Coast, and in the Midwest, they have schools in their close proximity. But UCLA and USC, their closest conference opponent would be Nebraska. So, and that's roughly 1,500 miles away. So, they definitely need to make sure that they, if they can, when the time is right, get more teams on the West Coast to fill in to make sure that they, reduce the amount of travel as much as possible. So, if that's getting at Stanford or even a Cal, get them into the conference in Oregon, that helps out. These schools are also aligned with the AAU, that which is it's universities that are aligned academically, so you have a lot of the Ivy schools, you have in like schools like NYU, many good academic schools, top-notch academic schools in the country are, pretty much aligned with that. In the ACC, you even have schools like North Carolina, Duke, Virginia, which are a part of that alignment. So, that's another opportunity where that if the ACC implodes, you can also look to add those schools in. That also helps the basketball side of things for the Big Ten. It's already tough in the Big Ten, but if you can imagine adding a Duke, adding a North Carolina, you already have UCLA added to the schools that are there, Virginia, if that situation did fall in place. These are top programs that are competing for national championships, and it only helps to elevate the Big Ten if those opportunities present themselves. Yes, it would really grow the conference, but again, with the way things are today, that's basically how sports at college sports is grown to be. So you're going to get that big conglomeration of sports, of universities aligning themselves to make sure that they give the best, put themselves in the best position to compete and also capitalize economically. So, right now, I think it's going to be a very interesting time as we continue on over these next couple of months to see what happens, especially with Notre Dame. I think they're going to be key. And, if the Big Ten is smart, I think that they really should work hard to, push the envelope. And what I mean by that is, as I said, look, start grabbing these other schools, talk to, if these other schools contact you for assistance and you can provide it to them legally, help them out to look through, whatever they can do to, find the loopholes in the contract. So this way they can move on because, hey, if I'm at Virginia or at Oregon, I'd want to, capitalize to or have the opportunity to make an extra 80 to $100 million per year off of TV money. And that also helps in your recruiting and your branding of your university across the country. So, just my thoughts in terms of what's going on in college sports, because it is something that I love very, very passionately. So, if you have any thoughts, definitely leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm off base? Whatever. If you like this video, please also like, subscribe if you haven't already done that. Share this, across all social media platforms. I definitely want to see this program, this channel grow, so we can make it one of the top programs that is out there. All right, as I always say in sports, make sure you turn it on and turn it up. Peace and blessings always.